I mean, if you like it, you like it, but I didn't get it. Hi peeps, a couple things. I kept calling Mizu, Mitsu. Like, I apologize. I just kept switching it left, right, and center. I do get it at the end, but I do switch it before I get there. Also, there was a ton of nudity and a lot of sex in this, and I didn't mention that in my review, but just know that going in if you're deciding to watch this. Hi, beautiful people. Welcome back. If it's your first time, my name is Talia Adewale, and this is DISBYDEM. Today, we're going to be talking about Blue Eye Samurai, which is a Netflix original animated series streaming on Netflix. I do that every single time. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when I post new videos. So let's just get into it. So, I I saw this. I saw when it got released, but I didn't really have any plans to watch it. And then I watched this compilation on YouTube, and I thought that since I didn't really look into it, I didn't know anything about the series, and it was a compilation of all their moments throughout the entire series, and it was so good. I was like, okay, yeah, I gotta watch this. I'm going to watch it immediately. Now that compilation sold me a lie. It sold me a happy ending that did not happen. So I'm a little pissed. But yeah, let's do a little intro of the show, and then we can talk more about the characters and the ones that I actually like. Alright, Blue Eye Samurai is an action-packed animated samurai series set in Edo era Japan, and it's voiced in English by a predominantly Asian cast. The series uniquely depicts the discrimination that Japanese women and Japanese of mixed race backgrounds faced during this period. Now, after watching this, I have a little more understanding of what Gabi went through, and that whole Gabi situation of is she the wolf. And if you guys saw that video, I was talking about how I felt like Gabi was very almost marginalized, like she was good enough to be a friend but not good enough to date, and I didn't understand that. So obviously I needed to educate myself, and I still haven't, full disclosure, but this really helped a lot. So the anime series follows Mizu, a mixed race Japanese woman who pretends to be a man in order to exact a violent revenge. It was great. I'm not even gonna lie. I started today and I finished today. You guys know me, when I commit, I commit. Like, if I want to watch something, I watch it. So I was also in a race against my husband because he'd started before me, and I was like, I'm gonna finish before you, just watch me. And I did. So I won that one. But it was absolutely fantastic. Like, the animation was really done like to perfection. The cinematography, some of the fight scenes, and the way that the camera angles worked within the fight scenes, it was just out of this world, like fantastic. They really did a good job with this series. I love the characters, each and every one of them that came up. I love the voices. I love the way they were voiced. I love the character growth from episodes 1 to 8. It's a lot went on in this series, and your heart just goes out to Mizu, right? Like, why should somebody be treated like that just because they were half, Japanese, half white? Her mother was, for Christ's sake, like, it's not like she asked to be born, it was just a weird thing. But I really did like enjoy the storyline and the story arc. It's all about revenge. I'm not even gonna sit down here and kid you that it's not. It's about revenge and blood. It's almost like if somebody wasn't bleeding, the scene wasn't complete. But it is all about revenge. Her getting her revenge on this 4 white men who were in Japan during the period when she was born. So the series starts and she'd already killed one. We don't see that. They don't show us that. Maybe that's something that they will cover in season 2. Fingers crossed they get a season 2, because I think it needs one desperately. But right now she's on her way to find Abizan Fowler. Oh, he's a vile man. But he's the next white man who's on her list. So I'm going to go down the list of my favorite characters. It's probably most of the cast, but I have 2, 4, 6, 7 characters that I'm going to be talking about. I'm not starting with Mizu. I'm starting from the back of the list. And the first guy is the sword maker, and she used to call him Father Swordmaker, I think it was what she called him. And he is voiced by Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa, who was Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat. I think it was the second Mortal Kombat, if I'm remembering correctly. Loved him in that. Every time somebody says your soul is mine, that's who my mind goes to. And every time I need to say that phrase, that's who my mind goes to. The Swordmaker was blind, and he was the one who raised Mitsu when she was cast out of the village. Now, it is important to know that only a few people knew that she was a girl. She lived her life as a boy based on the instructions of her then mother, who I guess was just trying to safeguard her. But he taught her everything that he knew about sword making, and also she learned fighting when she was with him, growing up with him, just by watching all the people who came to buy swords from him, because he was a master sword maker. And then we move on to Ringo, who was just my favorite. He reminded me of the big guy in Mulan. I can't remember his name right now, but that was the image that I was getting every single time Ringo was on the screen. He had that lovable, comfy, just carefree persona about him, and I really liked that. He was voiced by Masioka, and also whenever I think of Masi, I think of Get Smart, because I really liked him in that movie. He was great in Heroes, but we all know how Heroes ended, so we're not going to talk about it. But Get Smart, I really loved him, and it kind of embodied that personality from Get Smart into this. I liked Ringo. I like the fact that he decided that he was going to choose Mitsu as his master, and he stuck to that. Even when things got dicey, around episode 5, I think, or so, he still had a soft spot for Mizu, and he kept on with it. Next was Seki. Seki was the guy who raised Akemi, who's the princess. And I just loved that father figure for her in her life. We all know that Akemi becomes something else. If you haven't watched this, I guess go see it. But if you have, you know that Akemi becomes something else in her bid for power. We'll talk about that next. But I like that Seki was like a constant figure in her life, in a world where your choices are not your own, where women are used as pawns or as breeding tools. Like, that was a nice thing for her to have. In this whole series, women are depicted either as whores or as breeding material, so wives. Those were the only two options you had. Could you imagine growing up in a world like that? Yeah, no, thank you very much. Moving on to Akemi, princess, and she obviously was her father was going to use her as a political tool to kind of acquire more wealth for himself. He had planned to marry her to Taijen at first, but the whole situation with Taijen losing to Mitsu in the beginning kind of ruled that out. So then he decided that he was going to arrange for her to be married to the shogun's youngest son, and in order to gain access and power from the shogun. So Akemi was very much not interested in being anyone's pawn. She was extremely smart. Honestly, for everybody to be looking for Mitsu, and she found Mitsu just on wits alone. I was very impressed with Akemi throughout this whole thing. I really, really liked her. I don't know that she's gonna morph into something good by the end of season 2, or as the season progresses. I think she's gonna truly become the villain of the story, but it's in her bid for power and control over her life. So, I mean, it is what it is, man. You do you. Akemi is voiced by Brenda Song, and I like that for her. She's a Disney kid. If you know who Brenda Song is, you know who Brenda Song is. Seki was voiced by George Takai. I almost forgot that, which is an iconic voice that if you know, you know. Once you hear it, you know who's speaking. And then we move on to Abidjan Fowler, who's voiced by Kenneth Branagh. That's how you say his name, right? I just watched The Haunting of Venice, A Haunting of Venice, or A Haunting in Venice. I don't know which one it is, but I just watched that one, so very still fresh in my head. And when I figured out that Kenneth Branagh was the one voicing this character, I was like, oh my gosh, look at you go. Abidjan Fowler is a despicable person. He has been in Japan in this period when Japan has been closed off from the West. So this was, I think, 1657 or thereabouts. And in this period where Japan was closed off from the West, he's been there in hiding for about 20 years, helping the shogun become the second most richest man in the world or something like that, helping him trade with the West. So they trade in flesh, and when they say flesh, it's women, opium, and in weapons. Weapons were guns. So a lot of the whole series was building up to the fact that they were bringing guns into Japan in order to take over the shogun's palace and the shogun's seat itself. So yeah, he was terrible. Now Mizu's plan is trying to kill him in this season, and that whole stuff trying to get into his whole castle that they built for him. It had traps, it had levels, it had everything. And that scene alone, that episode, if you've not watched anything, just go and watch that episode. Mizu, they keep calling her, or him, I guess, a demon throughout this thing. And in that episode, I saw it because she refused to die. And she took out so many people. It was perfection. That's the best way I can see it. The fight scenes were fantastic. And it just kept going. Like, she would not stop. It was absolutely, I loved it. I loved it. I honestly really love this series. And if you haven't seen it, just go check it out right now. And moving on, we have two more people that I want to talk about. Taijin is basically the second main person of this entire series. Taijin is voiced by Darren Bannett. And if you've watched Love Hard, I think was the last thing that he was in with Elena from Vampire Diaries, and yeah, I can't remember the other guy's name, but he's in that, and he's in a lot of high school movies too. He does a lot of those. Taijin was a bully of Mitsu's growing up. He bullied her to no end, ran her out of the village, and it's almost like a bully grew up into a terrible person, I have to say, because in episode 1, I really didn't like Taijin that much. And I was confused that I watched the compilation that they fell in love, because I was like, he's a horrible person. But this was episode 1. He had one of the best character arcs in the entire thing. I really like how everything was surrounded by honor and the way of a samurai. And he kind of kept that up until the end, when Mitsu tells him there's no honor in being a samurai. The only thing that has anything to do with being a samurai is death, and almost kind of like helps him get free, I guess. But I do think that there's a relationship brewing between them. But right now, Mizu is on her way out of the country, so I don't even know. She's on her way off the continent at this point, so I don't really know what will happen. I would like very much to see a second season so we can see what happens between these two, because it is not a love story, but I do think that there's a potential for a love story between them moving on. And that brings us to Mizu, who is voiced by Maya Erskine. I think that's how you say her name. She wasn't Insecure. She's a comedian. Like, you've seen her in a lot of things, and if you Google her, you know who she is. But the voice was really good. It was so good, considering how, like, very girly and high-pitched that her regular voice is. I really like it. It's kind of like the Rosa Diaz effect from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where, you know, her actual voice it does not sound that deep. It's the same thing that was going on with this, and I really liked it. Oh, I don't even have enough words. I've been talking about Mizu with every character that I've spoken about during this review, and I think I've said it all. I really do like that even though in the end it was still about revenge, like, she still kind of formed a little bit of her identity with being half caste. You know, they've called her a demon all her life, so she thinks that that's what she is. But even accepting that, okay, fine, maybe she is a demon, but there's still more to her than being that. Now she's still set on her revenge. Fowler tells her that the two other white men are not even in Japan anymore, they're in London. And so she's on a boat with Fowler locked up in I don't know what it's called under the boat, but he's locked up under there. And they're headed to London. And I'm like, what's supposed to happen now? Is she supposed to go to London and hunt this man down? Like, it's a new territory completely. I don't even know how accepted Japanese people are in London in 1657 or thereabouts. Like, maybe that's something I gotta Google, but I just don't know what will happen, you know? And it's like, she's going there alone. She left Ringo, she left Taijin, like, everybody. She's going alone. So I'm seriously hoping that at least in season 2, Taijin realizes that she's left the continent and maybe somehow follows her and, you know, becomes her support system over there, because she can't do it alone, you know. But that's where they left us. It's really a cliffhanger, because we don't know what's going to happen. And with Netflix, you never know if they're going to do a second season or not, you know. They keep giving us seasons of Dragon's Blood, Dota, and that was such a horrible series. I mean, if you like it, you like it, but I didn't get it. I did not like the first one, and I've not watched any ever since then. So we don't know what will happen. Hopefully they renew this for a second season, because I really, really, really enjoyed it. But if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's only at 8 episodes. Each episode is about an hour to 45 minutes, depending on the episode. But I don't think you'll be bored. I was entertained from the first episode to the last, and I'm hoping for more. So if you've seen it, let me know. Let me know what you thought about it. Let me know who your favorite characters are. Let me know if you had a favorite scene. I will forever love the fight scene in Fowler's castle. I thought that she was absolutely great in those levels, and with the way that it ended with her having to save Taijin instead of pursuing her revenge in that period. I thought that was a huge character development arc for her. So yeah. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when I post new videos, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!